Hi friends, Right Careers welcomes you to a altogether brand new video for this week. So we are in the month of January. So January means new year, January means new things, January means new beginnings, January means new admissions, right? So all along for the last 6 months or so, we have focused a lot on higher education. We've been focusing a lot on higher education, particularly after class 10, class 12 and things like that. Since we are in the month of January and February, this is the time of the year where all the parents will be curious about school admissions, which school to join, which board to join, which is the best school, which is the best board available for my son or daughter. So that's the deep thought that we dive into most of the parents. So we thought we will take a break from higher education space for some time and then speak about different schools, different boards I should say, and also how to choose the right school or board for your child. So that's going to be the topic not only for this week, in some of the weeks to follow as well. So the topic from now on, for at least for the next 4 weeks I should say, is how to choose the right school for your child or right board for your child. So before we conclude, we need to see what are the boards, or rather what are the curriculums that are available in K-12 space. So by K-12, don't get bogged down. It is not a great jargon. Kindergarten to 12th standard is actually the acronym of K-12. Now in K-12, that is in the school education space, there are various boards available. Good old days, there only used to be state board schools. I'm saying not even in my generation, the generation before myself. And then when I studied, I'm from a matriculation school in Tamil Nadu, therefore matriculation board. And then you had CBSE, you still have CBSE, which is India's, national board. You have respective state government boards. So that was the phenomenon. But of late, you see there are a lot of international schools that have come in. There is something called ICSE, which is India's international board. You have IGCSE, which is the Cambridge. You have IB, International Baccalaureate. Even when you come down, to the primary level, you have Montessori method of teaching. So, there are numerous amount of options that are available for students, also for the parents to study, choose the right board. So we will see one by one over the next few weeks, and then finally conclude which board is suited for a child, or rather how to choose the right school. So starting from this week, we will be seeing this, right? Now, this week we will only see about one board, which is nothing but International Baccalaureate, or rather we call it as IB. Now before we speak about IB, there are three differentiating factors that determines the board. So you might think, what is IB, what is IGCSE, what is Cambridge, or what is ICSE, CBSE? Everything is a school, right? That's the constant doubt that you will have. But there are three differentiating factors, major differentiating factors, that will determine the differentiation with regards to board. The first differentiating factor definitely is the curriculum or the academics. So every board follows their own curriculum. IB follows its own curriculum, Cambridge follows its own curriculum, CBSE. Similarly, every board follows its own curriculum. So that's the first differentiation. The second differentiation is the methodology, which means the teaching way. Definitely teaching way or the teaching method changes from board to board. And finally, the third differentiation is in the form of assessment or grading, which means the examination part. CBSE, we know how exams are conducted. State board, we know how exams are conducted. But in international schools, the assessments and examinations and the grading, the ranking we call, right, will be slightly different. So once again, to recall, three differentiating factors. One is the curriculum or the framework. Second is the methodology, the teaching methodology. And third is the assessment part, right? So we will now see how it functions in different board, starting with IB this week. So what is IB? We've already seen it is International Baccalaureate, right? So it was founded in 1968. This board has been there since 1968. It is run by a private organization called IBO, International Baccalaureate Organization, that's headquartered at Geneva. So it's naturally an international board. Today, IB has over 6 lakhs plus students studying across the globe, with roughly about 125 plus countries where IB schools are there, and 2000 plus schools offer IB as a curriculum across the globe. If you drill down to India, we have around 140-150 schools. Some are IB, some are IB candidacy. I'll speak about what IB candidacy is. Definitely 150 plus. in terms of schools. So IB, as the name itself suggests, International Baccalaureate, it trains students from global context. That's a very short thing. We will deep dive slowly into what IB is, right? So moving on, IB is divided into three parts basically. They divide themselves into three kinds of, group rather. The first group is called PYP. It's nothing but primary years program. We call primary education, right? Similarly, IB calls as PYP. The second is MYP, middle years program. And then the final is DP, which is diploma program. So we will see all three in some detail, and then we will, as usual, see about the pros and cons of IB. Starting from IB PYP, which is primary years program. So primary years, as the name itself suggests, it's for students in the age group of 3 and 10. So primary school till grade 5 we call in India, right? So that's PYP. Now this PYP focuses a lot on experiential learning and inquiry based learning. So these are jargons you would have come across, or if you're not come across. Experiential learning is nothing but learning out of experience, hands-on learning. So that's experiential learning. IB focuses a lot on experiential and inquiry based learning. So the curriculum framework of PYP, it has its own philosophy. So it believes in the philosophy that students are the change agents for themselves, which means they are the change agents for themselves, and change need not come from anyone but only from students. And students in IB PYP, in general in IB, are looked as partners in learning process. That's the word, partners in learning process. So it's not monotonous where teacher delivers the lecture, students listen. No, it's partnership between the academics and the students, teachers and the students. So students are the partners in the learning process, which means even the educator learns, right? Yeah. So definitely IB PYP focuses a lot on transdisciplinary curriculum, which means the curriculum will be very, very wider, and it's definitely not confined to traditional learning. Now, one unique thing about IB PYP in India at least is it doesn't really follow the examination pattern. They don't really follow this examination pattern or grading system in PYP, primary years program. So what happens in PYP is at the end of PYP year, there is an exhibition that usually happens in IB schools, and the students are assessed. It's not ranking or grading, it's assessed based on the exhibition. So that's a little bit about how PYP functions. It's not a classical or stereotype examination model that they follow. Moving on, the next group within IB is IB MYP, that is International Baccalaureate Middle Years Program. So as the name itself suggests, middle years in school means right from age 11 until age 15. So it's a 5-year program, ideally grade 6 to grade 10. That's called middle year program. Now this middle year program is very uniquely positioned in IB. It encourages a student to study all facets of education, all facets. We will see what and all it is. However, it varies from school to school because country to country, certain things change. We will see one by one as to how it is. So as I told you, middle year program encourages students to choose from variety of subjects. So there are 8 groups within MYP where a student has to choose subjects. So what are those 8 groups? The first definitely is arts. Arts can be visual arts or drama, music, etc. So arts is one group. The second one is language. We know language is very important. The third one is language acquisition. There is something called language acquisition. And then you have mathematics, you have design that will have various forms of design. And then you have physical education, that is nothing but the sports, individuals and societies. Individuals and societies is nothing but history, geography and humanities. And then naturally, finally the 8th one, that is sciences. So there are 8 groups, and then all 8 groups, a student is supposed to choose minimum 1 subject from all these 8 groups. Will have to study a minimum subjects of around 8 subjects during his MYP tenure. Can obviously take some more, and in a year every subject would be taught 50 hours. So 50 hours per subject in a year would be taught. And the assessment part, we saw in PYP, the assessment is at the end of the year, there will be an exhibition, right? In MYP, the assessment is continuous assessment, which means you will not have half yearly, quarterly, something like that can also be customized in some school. Some schools are doing that. But if you ask me, the assessment is ongoing process, continuous process. That's as far as MYP. The third group after PYP, MYP, there's a third group in IB that's called diploma program, or we call it as DP. Ideally grade 11 and 12. In India we call grade higher secondary, right? So that's DP. So once a student finishes his or her DP, he gets a diploma certificate at the end of this program. So the diploma program is valid throughout the globe, across the globe, for his or her future admissions into higher education institutions. So in this diploma program, a student is exposed to different subjects. Say 6 subjects. In the MYP we saw 8. Out here it's 6 subjects. What are those? Language and literature, language acquisition, science, arts, mathematics, individuals and societies. Individuals and societies are history, geography and humanities. So the student is encouraged to take a subject from all these groups. So which means a student cannot take science group, commerce group. Yes, he would be taking, but the objective for DP is interwoven, or we call it as trans learning, where a student will get exposed to all the subjects. So that's a little bit about diploma program. Now, as always, so where to study before we moving on to the pros and cons of IB, where to study. So I will give the link just behind me. It's called www.ibo.org. So that's the website of IB. It will be unfair to list out the top schools in different cities, because we don't cater to one city or one country. So this would be watched by people from different parts of the country, and therefore it's advisable to go to this website and then see the list of IB schools. That makes a lot of sense. Why I am asking you to refer to this website is, it is their own, IB's own website, and many schools these days come up with international school concept, whereas they run CBSE or some other board, right? Just to clear that doubt that lingers in your mind, go to this site, do a small research which is self-explanatory. It will tell you which are the schools that are available that offers IB program at different levels. Some schools might offer only PYP. Some schools will offer only PYP and MP, that is middle year program. Some schools will not offer anything. They will only offer diploma program. So there are models like that as well. So in case of any doubts, you can always be in touch with us. As always, before we conclude the pros and cons of IB, pros, I can go on and talk about a lot of pros when it comes to IB. An IB student, usually will develop the skill of thinking independently. For sure, he becomes an independent thinker, critical thinker. An IB student takes part in program that can take him to universities abroad, which means the objective of IB is to place a student in global leading universities, right? So every university in the world accepts IB these days, including Indian universities have started accepting IB. So you don't need to worry about whether Indian universities will accept or not. But the objective of IB is to place you in some Ivy League universities across the globe. So it basically prepares a child to become a global citizen. So it is not confined to one geography or one location. It actually follows the India's global mantra of Vasudhaiva Kudumbakam, where it says global citizen. So that's exactly the philosophy that IB follows. And again, as I told you, worldwide acceptance, right? So some of the pros that I can think of, cons not really, but one I can think of is the schedule. I mean, in examination, in Indian universities for higher education, they start the university or college in the month of July, August, right? So which means the Indian boards will finish the exams by March, entrance exams by April, May. Whereas IB, they follow a slightly different calendar. It starts from August. The diploma exams happen in the month of May. The results come out in July. It might be slightly late for some of the Indian universities, especially in India. Even though IB gives a provisional or a predicted score based for a student in the month of March, some universities do accept, some universities don't. So that is the only very minute flaw I can see when it comes to IB, right? So that's it. Precisely winds up for this week. Hope you all had a great time listening to IB as a model. So next week we'll come up with a different school, different board, I should say. Until next week, have a great Makar Shankranti, Pongal, wherever you are in the country, have a great Makar Shankranti, and let us all pray for peace and prosperity during this Makar Shankranti. Until next Monday, 5 p.m. with a new video on a different board of school. Take care. Thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you.